I would imagine a lot of us are ready for this election to be over. It's been full of turmoil for really a very long time, long before we actually got into what they call the election season. It's critically important. We all know that. I would imagine that all people of faith are heavily burdened at this time. But let us remember what Christ says. My yoke is easy, my burden is light. The burden of living the truth, the burden of living with Christ, it is a light burden in the great mystery of our faith, because it's a burden worth carrying. It's a burden that gives strength. It's a burden full of irony. Yes, it's a burden, but as Christ's cross was a burden for him, a real man carrying a real wooden cross, the church carries that cross through the ages, and each of us, as he tells us, we're called to take up our cross and follow him. And in many ways, that is a good way, I believe, of describing what we're experiencing in this year, the election of 2024. The cross that we bear is that we don't have the candidate we would dream of. We have imperfect, to say the least, candidates. Really at the top of the ticket for the office of presidency, but also many others. They're very imperfect candidates that we're looking at. What I have urged all of us to do is to vote, to use that gift and responsibility that we have, to vote and to make the very best choice of not very good choices, the very best choice we can make. We have to look through the lens of Christ. Which of these candidates supports the truth that we know? Not just our political ideologies, but which of these candidates supports the truth of Jesus Christ, King of the universe, most fully? Many will be tempted to walk away and discuss and say, none of them. And that is one judgment, I guess, that people can make. But I would urge us to say, okay, yes, they're imperfect candidates that we're faced with. Look for the very best, the one that, through the lens of Christ, supports the truth of the sanctity of life, the sanctity of our nation, the sanctity of every person, all the gifts that we have, the candidate that supports the values that have made this one nation under God. Look for the best that we have. But we do need to make that choice of voting, and we do need to do our best. And I would add, once the election's over, whoever is elected, we have to continue to do our best to pull them closer to the truth that we know that is Jesus Christ. We have to recognize there are candidates that have outright said, if you say Jesus is Lord, you don't belong with us. We need to listen to that. We need to take that to heart. A candidate said that. That means we have very poor choices, because none of the candidates really represent the fullness of our faith the way we would like. But I think the choice ultimately becomes quite clear of which is the lesser of these evils, which is the one that promotes the most goodness and the least evil. That's a tough choice to face. It's a burden for all of us, but we need to carry that burden in faith, make the best choice we can. And if prayerfully, the best of those choices that I believe is very clear is the one that is in office, then we work hard to promote the whole administration, to look to the truth of Christ, to look to the values that come from the gospel of Jesus Christ, and to guide our nation according to those values. This election, as all of us have heard more times than we can count, it's a very critical moment for this nation. We have to choose the most truthful candidate we can, the one that holds the truth of Christ with all the controversies, all the imperfections, all the failed realities that are part of our political system. We have to acknowledge that our system is gravely broken, but we still have the chance to vote, and we need to make the best choice we can. And then, and really in many ways, if we can make that best choice we have among not the greatest choices, then we can continue to work to guide the new administration more in the truth of Christ and stand for those truths and use our voices in every way we can. But finally, let us exercise this franchise to vote that is a gift and a responsibility. And let us look through the lens of truth that Christ has given us to find the best candidate we can, to make that choice, to let our voice be known. We know truth in Christ, and we're going to choose the candidate who maybe very imperfectly but best represents that truth. God bless you.